Morning, everybody. There's a Greyhound. The one Uncle Galen's friend bought me a ticket to come down from Fortuna because she was scared of the police siren. Two of the young men laughed at the picture of the man that molested my daughter because he was driving their service cars around. When he got out of prison, they let him, you do classes and, you get a volunteer. Well, they let him volunteer to fix cars because he's an auto mechanic and he has friends up there. But for them to laugh, yeah, it scared my Uncle Galen's friend. She's with the Indian Land Management across from the TV station up there. She bought me a ticket. She said the safest place is to get out of Humboldt. She first took me up to Arcata, where one of the main guys in Arcata actually has one of my grandma's books, with our names in it. The man that works in Arcata, the head police guy, he's actually brother to one of the guys that live in Willits. So, it's a small world, what they always say. Like when I went to church, there's like Freeman's there, there's Brown's there, there's people related to the Russells, to the Hurts, to the Johnsons. They're real nice people. They welcomed me in probably about a year ago, and I've been off and on their going to their churches. So I'm about ready to come up by the Nifty Thrifties, like where it's kind of by Granite where they do the surveillance. We had a pretty cool life, after we became the helicopter kids, or they call us the heli kids. We were part of the Raider Nation kids, which in the Dreams of Voices, a coach from Point Arena actually speaks about it, how they how they portrayed us by our clothing. But that was just an undercover of how we was when we were kids. We weren't bad. We represented black and silver, and we spoke for the people. We spoke for our kids. That's probably around the same year I went to the colleges, and I spoke throughout the colleges, traveled around with our Unity group. Unity group was for high school kids, but I was one of the lucky ones to have my aunt, Marian Asbel, run it, and then along the way we got to meet Leonard Peltier's son, who actually ran the Pawtucka or the Bear group in one of our youth camps. Who else? Along with Tony Gonzalez. I don't think I got to be there when Tony Gonzalez was doing the youth camps too, but my brother ever did. He was privileged to work with him. He actually, my brother's box that my mom kept for all of us. There's flyers in there. There's a thing in there of a picture of Tony. Actually doing the classes and stuff, and everybody who was all involved. And when you guys look into my other brother's box, and I have a big old huge black box, it's at my mom's house, that'll have flyers and everything from where we travel. It should have my flyers in there of me being the California baby and registered in the Santa Rosa Museum. And a lot of this came into play, I think, about a few years ago, or not too long ago. They were emptying the Smithsonian. They were redoing our paperwork. The courthouse had started to redo our paperwork. I have pictures of where they sat down below the court, and they, they had all our stuff under, with no camera. When you go down to jury duty, my mom would always have to go to jury duty all the time. We'd be hungry in there, there'd be snacks. She's like, oh yeah, there's no cameras here, like we had the little fishes, like, dude, we was in there all the time. They could have given them to us for free, but there was no cameras where all our paperwork was. And I got pictures of that. We have to pay like $65, give our ID and all this stuff, but then for it to be sitting down for anybody to grab. That was one of the other things me and the courthouse kind of got in growl about, and some of the people there. I'm like, I came in probably about an hour before that, dressed different. I had my vest on, dressed all ghetto. They treated me different. But I went in, bought my clothing, came in, dressed, looked just like a lawyer, spoke like a lawyer, fit in with one of them. And that's how I got my daughter's case. I actually went into the district attorney's office, grabbed one of those folders, was walking around with it, told them that I worked for Macy and Macy Moore, the lady who talked smart about my auntie and tried to hold me as an ad litem too, and tried to give my kids back to the man that molested my oldest children. You know, and you can't hold me as an ad litem when I'm a protective mother. You know, what did you guys expect? You know, so when I went in there, I told them that I said I needed kudos. Her secretary had nice eyebrows, and all she was doing was gossiping on the phone about me, you know. And I just played it off, and she's like, told her I don't need the paper, but I need something to give to the parent. And so the lady in the district attorney's office, the secretary, which she don't work there anymore, she actually gave me what to ask for. So when I went up there, that's how I got the files on my daughter's case that I was held out from for a whole year and a half. And when I read it, oh, was I pissed. I was pissed. I actually sat in front of the courthouse and I went live. I cried all the way to the special victims unit, where the man talked smart to me. I mean, he talked smart at an angry Native mother. When the Humboldt County Police, the district attorney up there, was so happy, you know, and she retired too, about, 2 months ago. What did she report? I put the most child molesters away in COVID-19, 25 to life. And then I'm going to add on, but the one man who raped a Native American child, and you want to say, who is Jade Johns? Jade Johns' fathers, or her grandparents, are in every museum from here to Washington, along with me. Her mother is in the San Rosa Museum. You know, her uncle Mike Freeman is in the Sacramento Museum. Her grandpa, old dad, we sit in the Smithsonian. You know, if you go over to the New York Islands and you pull out the books, there you'll find my ancestors in those books. That's who Jade Johns is. And then Court Peterson, you've held my daughter for 2 years. 2 years you held my daughter. And when I showed you a picture, you asked, who is she? Well, who is Johanna? Hadn't gone to court for her for about a year and a half. Went to court for my 2 little kids, you know, but not Johanna. And the case started, why? Because of Johanna. But you guys kept her from me. You guys held her up in Covelo for how long? You guys wouldn't even send her to the doctors. My daughter sat up there for a year and a half with rotted teeth. How much pain do you think she was in? You know, but court says, who is she? And then when I called on Mother's Day and I growled, you know, because of my daughter and her safety, and guess who called me? My dad. My dad called me and told me Johanna's teeth were hurting really, really bad. You know, and my teeth were hurting bad. You know, and like, I don't know, like twins, I guess, you have connections, you know, and I was worried about it. I fought with the tribe, fought with ICWA, fought with CPS. CPS says you have education rights, you have medical rights. I called the tribe up there, the dental, I called the other tribe. Dude, they wasn't going to release my daughter's information off from gossip from the Round Valley Indian tribes and gossip from Jim Russ. I had to growl to fight for her to have medical stuff, you know. And just like my son's breathing machine, they held my son's breathing machine. The doctor that damaged my son's airways, he got asked to leave. 4 other children. I'm the only parent that stood up. But did you guys take my children that time? No, you didn't. But you took them this time. I was falsely arrested. All charges dropped from the sheriff's office. So why is CPS, ICWA, and the tribe still pushing on me? My judge up above says I'm released. You know, my probation judge. I passed it with flying colors. You know, my mental health, I passed the flying colors. You know, but what was I told? Don't you speak on the native stuff. Don't you speak. I was threatened by the Round Valley Indian tribes not to speak on the native stuff. But guess what? The native stuff you're using, it actually was used by Jim Jones and Charles Manson. So it's registered by white people. And you know, it happened to be my family. We're related to Jim Jones. Little Jerry and them have my timeline and stuff. We're actually related to Ruby Crockett, you know, and Davy Crockett. I had nothing else to do but hit the museums from Ukiah to Willits, and get online and check and run my family. And when they come down to it, dude, we're related to Walt Disney. The one thing when we went to Walt Disney as children is we had to stop and see the Lincoln Penny, because we're all tied in with the Lincoln Penny. So we had a cool life, and I just like to say good morning. I was telling you guys about church. I got to speak to my kids this morning. They got all awards. They got to go to the arcades and stuff. So I'm glad that they're feeling safety now. They probably wish that they was with me and doing those things, but they can't right now, due to the Round Valley Indian tribes. And I wonder how many other kids are out there that are like that, and it's like, what damage are you doing to the grandparents that have the children, to the children themselves? Like, actually, Jessica, what damage are you guys doing to them? Caring for Hearts, Round Valley Indian Tribes, Round Valley Indian Health Center, Round Valley Indian Housing. What damage are you doing to those children? Can you read the books on that? I read all the books on adoption. I read all the books on ICWA. I read into detail. And I actually, I read our own Gnome Cult book. That's what we used on. And the Dreams of Voices. And 5 other books that have all our elders in there. It has nothing to do with what you guys say for Caring for Hearts. Nothing. Even Mr. Tuttle that's in there, and he makes a statement for the Caring for Hearts. Dude, where have you gone? Have you forgotten where you came from? And that's the Tuttle, that's Cheryl Tuttle's husband at the school. Have you forgot who you are and where you came from? Your main goal was about education. It wasn't about tradition. I have your statement. I have your story. You wrote it yourself. So, and that's what my big old other point is, and I learned that from my cousin Hodge. Don't ever forget where you came from, sister. Don't ever forget, so you're not looking down on them. And that's some of the things that, that I say that got me through this is my family and my friends that the high class, the urban Indians look down on. They're the ones that actually been supporting me through this to speak. They cried when they heard my story. Every single one of my friends that I met out here, when I told them my story, they cried. They cried for my kids because they had a heart. They didn't put, go for the W, go for the win. They weren't out here trying to make heck of money and be like, hey, here we go. Do whatever you want so I don't go to jail for losing all these children and for stealing 5 Freeman girls as children and making them stand around all nervous. Because each one of my sisters, when they get up there, you'll be able to tell by the look, how they act, how they are. They went through the same thing I said that I put on Facebook. Each one of my sisters stood outside their family's house feeling the same way, Jessica. The same way. And if my grandma Vern or my Uncle Harold or my grandma Goldie or any of them was around, you'd be sitting in jail right now for doing that to all of us. What if you guys would have tormented us so much and we would have ended up like Sheena Rebecca Freeman? Her father committed suicide because of what you guys have done. Was she standing out there too? You did not care? Or did you hear our stories? Did you take the things that tormented my cousin Boopers and use it on the rest of us? Because what happened when Boots passed, it got really slow. Everything got weird. And it was a bunch of group of people. Same thing that happened in my house. The same thing that happened. And you guys stamped the wrong family again. You stamped the wrong family. And then you set up the ones that wasn't even doing it again. A younger generation of people who just need to straighten up and think they're high class, want to run the law, want to run the politics, want to run all this. Dude, I sit in that church and I listen to those elders, and I sit up there and listen to those elders, and I've heard my kids cry for help. They've loved my stuff that I put on. They've gave me hints that they want help. But yet, you have people up there laughing and thinking it's funny. And then you guys are out there burning sage and angelica root. Did anyone check where the Angelica root came from? Did anyone check, was it drive right? Was it this? But you're actually going to listen to a bunch of people that we know the history already. It ain't the first time this has happened and people have gotten in trouble. Like I said, our family were registered in books from all over. And you can't make them disappear and say that my Grandma Goldie ain't the shit. Because my Grandma Goldie's the shit, Shit, I'm the shit. My kids are the shit. Those ladies at the church are the shit. Those men at the church are the shit. When they shook my hand, I explained who I was. Because they come from here all the way to Garberville. The one lady that was running the, the children's church, I actually, she was from Garberville. Her daughter grew up in Garberville. And so she was really nice. And I sent her pictures, sent her everything about my case and stuff. So, they are aware. And some of those ladies that are there at that church, their friends and their sisters are the people at the jailhouse. Some of their kids work at the jailhouse. Some of their grandkids work at the courthouse. And for us to have the biggest mental health case in Mendocino County, and especially coming out of Covelo, and for our youth to be overdosing on drugs, there has to be a bigger point. Like, why are they doing it? Like, why are they doing it? They ain't just doing it because they're being mean. They ain't just doing it because they want to act up as kids, let you guys keep growling at them. They're doing it because they're being tormented and they don't know any other way to stay strong. I was lucky. I had people to look after me all my life. I didn't know it was out there like this. So I guess when they say everything happens for a reason, me and my kids had to get hurt for me to be out here to speak for all these people. So I didn't forget where I came from. Came all the way. My grandmas and them came from the Jews. My grandpa came from Spain. My other grandmas and them were from here. They were born on this land. We have family that's registered over in Africa with the little heads. My family goes all the way around. And it is crazy how they registered us. It showed that they couldn't find us. And they couldn't make us disappear. They wouldn't be only known us like the tribal council did, or the tribal administration, as a dead tree. When our ancestors and mine came from the roots, they came from the seeds. We grow, it's like a cycle for the fish. It comes back. And that's, and I guess, I don't know, that's just what I want to say this morning. So you guys all have a good day. Enjoy your day. Love your kids. Love your family. Stay safe out there. Pray for Round Valley that there's a change in employment, that there's a change in their law. If not, think of Jim Jones or Charles Manson. Why would these people be walking or even working for the tribe after everything they've done? Think. Something's going on.